Hello and welcome to NDTV and BQ Prime's special segment, Let's Talk Business. In this segment, we'll get you the top news from the world of markets, finance and business. Let's start with how the markets performed today. Equity benchmarks advanced, held on to steady gains after opening low on Monday. IT, metal and healthcare sectors advanced, whereas private banks and non-banking financials were under pressure. Adani Group stocks, on the other hand, led the advances today, along with Infosys and TCS. My colleague Neeraj Shah joins us with a wrap of all the market action.
Yeah, thanks for that. Interesting day of trade in that select pockets did well, not everything did well. Market width was actually skewed in favor of the decliners, marginally at that, if you will. And there was a lot of traction in the Adani Group stocks. I think that defined how the trade behaved today. IT, by the way, a key mover from an index perspective, which did well. Banking did not and took a bit of a backseat. So look at the gainers. Nifty IT, starting with Tech Mahindra, TCS, Infosys, HCL Tech, Wipro. These are the top 5 gainers on the Nifty, and that on the Sensex actually, and that tells you a story. Not the Nifty, the Sensex, excuse me, and that tells you a story about what happened on the Nifty. You might well have had Adani Ports also playing a part in the top 10 gainers. So big moves there into some of those stocks. Actually, speaking of Adani Ports, look at the Adani Group stocks, and they had a fabulous move today. Adani Enterprises 19%, big strong showing by that. Adani Ports did up 7%. Adani Wilmar did okay. Ambuja Cements went up about 5-6%. So all in all, a very strong show by the group stocks, no doubt fueled by the committee's verdict that came in last week. So that pocket did okay for itself. And then there are some very strong result reactions to specific companies. So I've noted down the names. Muthoot Finance, good, strong, decent showing, positive commentary, that stock doing well. NLC India, great expansion in margins, 150% jump in profitability. So that stock did well. What didn't do well, Cochin Shipyard down 10% after a howler of a number. And lo behold, Gland Pharma, extremely poor showing, down 18% yet again. Now, the market is looking poised for some recovery selectively, and people are making those bets. Here are Pramod Gubbi of Marcellus Investment Managers about where is it that Marcellus is looking to place its bet.
We saw many opportunities within our universe to build our positions, and particularly I think private sector banks, HDFC Bank in particular, did not go anywhere in almost 3 years, despite earnings growth remaining in that 18 to 20% band. Kotak again similarly had a fairly muted 18-month period. So private sector banks, particularly the ones who held up very strongly in terms of asset quality over the last decade or so, compared to the rest of the banking system, have been one of the biggest sources of dislocation as far as value and price concerned. Similarly, in certain select pharma, we continue to see value. We have holders of Divi's Laboratories, and that continues to show dislocation for stock-specific reasons. Here, it's unlikely that it's more of a quality versus value issue. It's a stock-specific issue, but we reckon that the long-term value offers significant margin of safety at this stage. Similarly, Dr. Lal Path Labs has had a terrible last 15 months or so, which again, we see an opportunity to build positions. So these are more stock-specific issues. If you ask for pockets, I guess consumer discretionary is continuing to offer that value versus price gap.
And moving on to the other big story of the day now, people should not panic and should not rush to return or exchange their 2,000 rupee currency notes. That's the word that's coming in from the RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das. This comes a day before banks across India will start the process of taking back the high-value notes. My colleague Jaspreet Kalra joins us with all the details. And Jaspreet, take us through what all the RBI Governor said today.
The RBI has set a deadline to exchange or deposit rupee 2,000 notes as a way to ensure that people do it in a timely manner. Now, this is according to RBI Governor Shaktikanta Das, who was speaking to the press on Monday morning. Das also said that there is no reason for people to rush to banks, and the RBI expects most of the 2,000 rupee notes to return to the banking system by September 30th. Here's what the governor had to say. Take a listen.
It's a part of the currency management operations of the Reserve Bank. Unless you specify a particular time the process will not reach a stage of finality. The banks have been advised. We have issued further circulars yesterday to the banks to make necessary arrangements, including arrangements to ensure that the people do not stand under the hot sun in this peak summer, to make arrangements for drinking water. But I do not expect the kind of a rush in the bank branches. Through you, I would like to appeal to all the viewers. There is no reason to sort of rush to the bank. Take your time.
It was on Friday evening that the RBI had said that the notes were being pulled from circulation, but would also continue to be legal tender. And the governor also said that the regulator will decide what to do next closer to September 30th itself. Now, while people can deposit rupee 2000 notes into their bank account at any point of time, they will also be able to exchange them for other denominations starting tomorrow, that is May 23rd. Now, notes can also be exchanged at banks, at business correspondent locations, and the RBI's regional offices as well. At a bank, people can exchange a total of 10 notes, that is rupees worth 2000's worth at a time, and at bank correspondence they can exchange rupees 4000 per day per account holder.
And moving on, GSW Steel's Q4 revenue met street estimates while net profits surpassed estimates. Margins contracted on yearly basis, but they were above street estimates. BQ Prime spoke to joint MD and CEO Jayant Acharya, who said that the company expects India's steel demand to see an uptick in high teens.
Our Indian subsidiaries did quite well. Our international subsidiaries overseas did also well. Ohio had some good operational numbers for the month of March specifically, and for the quarter overall. It could not break even, but it reduced its losses. Baytown, however, did a good number, $25.7 million of EBITDA. Our Italian operations had a number of $13.5 million of EBITDA on the back of good rail orders from the Italian government, and we have a visibility of rail orders going ahead. So the overseas operations are looking good. Going forward, I would say that the Indian steel demand will continue to be the main driver for our growth as well. 85% of our business, by and large, is Indian denominated, and we see a possibility of India's demand growing by about 8%, so roughly about 10 million tons, and it would go up to 130 million tons for the coming year. So we see a good demand going ahead as far as India is concerned. The international demand may be a bit subdued primarily in the West, but we see pockets of demand coming out on shortfalls emanating from Russia and Ukraine. We have a coverage across locations. We cover about 100 countries for our exports, so we are trying to diversify that market as well.
And now moving on, GAIL reported 81% contraction in net profit at 642 crore rupees as overall cost of operations rose. Margins contracted by about 100 basis points at 4.67%. The chairman and MD Sandeep Kumar Gupta expects the company will report a net profit of about 9,000 crore rupees in financial year 2024 on a comparative conservative basis.
Now, this high gas prices and such disruption, in fact, adversely affected every business vertical of GAIL India Limited, be it trading or be it transmission, be it petrochemicals or liquid hydrocarbons. And because of the high gas prices, there was some APM gas also which was reallocated for our LPG processing. So it also had the adverse effect on our LHC segment. So this was all these reasons, primarily high gas prices and the disruption of the long-term contract was the reason for lower profits in this year. But fortunately and good for us that all these issues are now sort of resolved as the gas prices have largely normalized and the supplies under that contract have now resumed. So we hope that one, that such adverse effects will not be there in this year. And second, there will be growth both in trading as well as transmission segments in this year, which definitely will pave way for perhaps a very, very good performance in the year 23-24.
And now some good news for BSNL users. The state-run telecom operator will soon launch 4G services for its users. The company has given TCS a 15,000 crore rupee order for the rollout of 4G services. Tushar Deep Singh is here with all the details.
Finally, 4G is coming to BSNL. At least the first step has been taken. A consortium led by Tata Consulting Services has won a rupees 15,000 crore order from BSNL to set up its much delayed 4G network in India. While details are scarce, this is good news for BSNL users who have been awaiting faster data speeds since at least 2016. This has been made possible by the government's revival plan for BSNL that was announced last year. According to the revival plan, BSNL will receive cash support of rupees 44,000 crore and a non-cash support of 1.2 lakh crore over 4 years. How soon will 4G arrive at BSNL is anybody's guess, but perhaps it's a little too late as Airtel and Jio have already moved on to 5G.
That's all we have for you in this edition of Let's Talk Business. Do join us at 5:30 p.m. every weekday to get your latest business news.